Hey there! ENSSO very kindly sent me the ESCALA scale ruler pen. It's a scale ruler, it's a pen. It's both. And I thought this was kind of interesting to check out. Now, I'll be entirely honest, I have not used a scale ruler in my life, nor do I see myself using one in the very near future. But for those of you who do, I think this is an interesting package. So, $79 for the pen. You can get it fine, medium, broad. It's cartridge-converter pen. There are different scales. I'll show you that when I do the camera pointed down part of the video. And then you have an actual fountain pen in there. So there is definitely some cool stuff going on there. And I think we just need to go over the parts of the pen. I will do a writing sample and I'll tell you what I like and not like so much about this pen. Let's get started, but first of all, a very kind thank you to ENSSO. Okay, so here we go with the ENSSO ESCALA scale ruler fountain pen. Here, just the whole package sort of in relationship to a Lamy Safari, but of course you can take out the pen. You can see it's quite a skinny, straight pen. So I'll just put this back in here, put the Safari away. The box is very simple, and I love that. I don't need any more packaging than this. Very simple, black, has the ENSSO logo on it as well as the website. And in there was a little a pen sleeve, I think, a little Ziploc bag, I think, which had the converter in it and a cartridge. I took this out because I actually put the cartridge in. So here we have this scale ruler. The pen is available in fine, medium and broad nibs. But before we do that, let's just talk about this ruler a bit. So we have imperial and metric units. How do you even, like, how do I say this? 1 to 200, 1 to 400. As you can see, 1 to 100, 1 to 20, 1 to 50, 1 to 500. I don't use these things, I'm sorry. And then we also have imperial, 1/16, 1/32, 1 and a half, and there's 1/4 and a 1/8 of an inch, right? So you have this, the whole drawing, or what do you call that, scale ruler is metal, which is quite nice. And then you can take out the pen, and when it comes to the pen, things get a little interesting. So I tried using it unposted, because I suppose this is the cap. You can actually use it posted. It's a little tougher, but it does actually work. So in case you were wondering, yes, you can actually do this. Now, going over the whole pen, I'll start at the bottom here, which has the ENSSO logo. And then we have a barrel and a section which are flush. We have a nice black coated number 5 BOK nib. And the pen, as I said, takes cartridges or a converter. In this case, I've opted for I was just using up some old Waterman cartridges. That's the pen. There isn't a whole lot more to say. It's a decent size. It's as I said, a uniform, or like the barrel and section are flush, so it's a uniform girth, and that's pretty much it. Now, the one issue I kind of have with this as a cap is that it is very nice. But the pen is not held in place, so it will actually slide out. There's no magnetic closure or anything that clicks into place, so that is something to be aware of. Your pen is going to just fall out. Now, I can come back to that later, but that's the first thing that I really noticed. Now, having said that, let's do a bit of writing with this pen. So here we have the ENSSO, let me zoom out a bit, sorry. The ENSSO ESCALA scale ruler. And it's, sorry, I need to create some space. It's a pleasant writer. It's a black coated nib. Often those have a little bit of feedback until the coating on the tipping wears off, which can take a little longer or shorter depending on how much you use the pen. Oh, and by the way, this is the medium nib, and the ink is just it's what used to be Waterman Florida blue, but those cartridges, some of the water had evaporated, so this is not a representative ink color. So as I said, there is some feedback because of the black coating on the nib, but it writes very nicely, a very pleasant writer, and I kind of like it's not at all scratchy, and I think that feedback is very comfortable. And I will say this. I wasn't sure about such, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but such a featureless pen. I mean, the section is basically just a tube that's not barrel-shaped, it's not hourglass-shaped, there's nothing to hold on to, but it's very light. I'm thinking it's aluminum because I know ENSSO uses that a lot, but it's very comfortable, and it's a nice size, and it's really quite pleasant. As to line variation, not so much. It's a pretty stiff nib, and I wouldn't really push this. I think this is one that would spring. And it's not advertised as a flex nib either, right? So you always have to be very careful. So then, as to reverse writing, it works. And it turns this medium nib into a good fine, if not an extra fine. Well, let's call that a nice thin fine. And it works, and it keeps going, which is very nice too, for those of you who enjoy that. And given the purpose of this pen with that scale ruler, I can see how someone would like to have a somewhat thinner line as well, and it works really well. So I am really quite impressed with the way this thing writes, especially for $79. But let's talk about what I like and what I don't like about this pen. Alright, what do I like, what do I not like about the ENSSO ESCALA scale ruler fountain pen? There's a couple of things I really like about it. First of all, it has a gadgety feel to it, and I don't mean that in a negative sense. I once had the Kleos Cribent Mesograph, which was a ballpoint which had a little pair of calipers in them. Yeah, I think it's kind of fun, and if you like technical stuff, then to me this is fun. So when I say gadgety feeling, I mean that as a positive, and I think that really is quite nice. The pen itself, very simple, very industrial design, but it works really well. It's a really pleasant writer, and I'm very honest and maybe brutally honest here, but when I saw this I thought, okay, yeah, that's whatever, aluminum, some light metal tube, I don't know, but it's comfortable. It is strangely comfortable, and it has a nib that writes very pleasantly, so I really cannot complain about that. I really like that. I also think the price is pretty reasonable for this type of, like the number of metal parts on this, 79 US. I don't think that is terrible. Plus you can pick your nib, fine, medium, broad, so that's kind of nice. Yeah, I think that has a lot going for it. Now here's my one big issue with this. That pen is not secured in that, I'm going to call it the cap, but call it the ruler if you like. So it will actually come out, and it will fall out, and it will actually do that. That is a bit of an issue, because that could lead to potential problems. Now, to be fair, this is so flat that once this is on your desk, it's obviously not a problem. If you carry this around, that may become an issue. For this reason, you can't really carry the pen nib up. So for the record, the nib is in here, right? You can't carry it nib up because if you take this out of a pen case or your bag, you are uncapping the pen. And you cannot reach around so far that you can hold the whole thing taking it out of a bag. That would not work, I think. So that means that if you carry this around like this, then the nib is facing down. Now I don't know if you can, I don't know if you can really see this, if the camera would pick it up, but there is a bit of, let me try to block out my face. There is a bit of sheen-like stuff going around on this end of the pen. And the reason for that is I took this to a pen meet, took it out, and the whole barrel was covered in ink. Now, I did use a cartridge, but I don't know where that ink came from. I was not swinging my bag around particularly much. I wonder, and this is just theory, I wonder if by having such a long cap and pulling this out, you create a vacuum, especially when the ink reservoir is very full, it may just suck out some ink. I don't know if that is the case. I have not tried this. But there we go. It is a bit of an issue, and that to me is a bit of a problem. But as I said, I don't know if that is really caused by suction from a vacuum, or if that just happened to be the case, and I may have swung that bag around a bit more than I thought I had. My biggest issue remains, though, that there is no way to secure this pen in place. And that can become an issue in my mind for carrying it around. Having said that, that's pretty much all there's to it. But I do think there is something going on, because even now, yeah, I really don't think I can actually show you this, but if you look right above my ring finger here, there is a drop of ink. So there is something going on there, and I don't fully understand what. So I'm going to try and experiment with this more. Final thing I wanted to say was a very neat invention with the scale ruler and the fountain pen, but I don't know if you really want to draw a fountain pen nib along a metal surface. So that concerns me a little bit. But as I said, this has a bit of a gadgety feel to it, in my mind, in a positive sense. I don't know. I don't mean this as in an offensive way, but in my mind, this whole package, right, with the metal ruler, nib, the pen not actually securing into place, it strikes me a little bit as a brilliant solution to a non-existent problem. But again, if you have a technical person in your life who likes this kind of stuff, it will make an amazing gift. Because if they like fountain pens and they like this kind of technical drawing stuff, yeah, it is amazing. So it does really go well together. But that again ties for me a little bit into the gadgety nature of this particular product. And that's all there's to it. All I can say is, as a pen, it writes beautifully. So it surely does that. And that's it. So I send ENSSO a very kind thank you for sending me this pen. I really appreciate it. Guys, I hope this was useful, and I'll gladly see you later. Bye-bye.